Bond. James Bond.
Another new banker. I seem to collect them.
It's 1997. Bond is back. The world is one headline away from war, and a media mogul is rewriting tomorrow's news before it happens. James Bond. Tomorrow Never Dies hit a flood of secrets behind every frame. Today, we're cracking open 20 weird facts, plus one bonus revelation so strange even die-hard fans missed it. Casting shocks, on-set chaos, a typo that changed everything. So grab your martini, dim the lights, because at Rewatch Club, the classics never die. Number 1. The Oscar winner who walked out after 3 days. Long before Jonathan Pryce stepped into Elliot Carver's tailored suit, the role belonged to Sir Anthony Hopkins. The Silence of the Lambs legend was the producer's top choice, and he actually arrived on set ready to play the media tyrant. But after just 3 days, he packed up and disappeared. The reason? Production was a complete mess. There was no finished script, and writers were faxing fresh pages to the cast every single morning. For a Shakespearean actor like Hopkins, it was creative torture. He walked away, and within weeks signed on to The Mask of Zorro instead. Bond fans love to imagine what could have been. A chilling, soft-spoken Hopkins twisting the truth on global television. But Carver, as we know him, was rewritten almost overnight. Number 2. The 5-second audition that won the bad guy role. Guts Otto, the towering blonde menace who plays Stamper, didn't get the role through a long, polished audition. He got it in under 5 seconds. When he walked into the casting office, he was told he had only 20 seconds to introduce himself. Otto looked the producers dead in the eye and said, "I'm big, I'm bad, I'm bald, and I'm German."
Said, "I'm big, I'm bad, I'm bold, I'm German." 5 seconds, keep the rest.
Then he stopped talking. The room went silent, and just like that, he had the part. It became one of the most legendary audition stories in Bond history. A perfect mix of confidence, comedy, and brutal self-awareness. Stamper turned out to be the most physically intimidating henchman of the Brosnan era, and somehow Otto sold the entire character before he even finished a sentence. Number 3. The Devonshire sank in the same tank as Titanic. Here's a coincidence so eerie it almost feels scripted. The dramatic underwater sequences of HMS Devonshire sinking, the ship at the heart of Carver's plot, were filmed in the very same massive water tank used for James Cameron's Titanic. Two of the biggest blockbusters of 1997 were literally born from the same pool, and the strange parallels didn't stop there. Both films released in the United States on the exact same day in December 1997. Tomorrow Never Dies opened in second place, beaten only by the unstoppable juggernaut sailing toward an iceberg. Imagine being a Bond fan walking into the theater and seeing a poster of Leonardo DiCaprio next door. 2 ships, 2 disasters, 1 water tank. Hollywood doesn't usually write coincidences this clean. Number 4. Sheryl Crow wasn't the first choice for the theme. The theme song you remember, soft, brooding, a little melancholy, almost didn't exist. Composer David Arnold originally wrote a Bond theme called Surrender, and Canadian singer K.D. Lang recorded it as the official opening track. But MGM wanted a bigger, more radio-friendly name. Around 12 different songs were submitted by artists like Pulp, Saint Etienne, and Mark Almond, all hoping for the iconic 007 slot. Sheryl Crow's submission won. K.D. Lang's gorgeous version got bumped to the end credits and renamed Surrender, even though its melody still echoes throughout the entire score. Fans from the 90s will remember which song hit harder, and many still argue Lang's was the better Bond theme.
I'm in a puddle on the floor.
2 songs, 1 film, 1 bittersweet decision. Number 5. The Bond girl who was 3 months pregnant. Terry Hatcher's tragic, glamorous role as Paris Carver came with a quiet on-set secret. During filming, she was 3 months pregnant. She had been cast right before learning the news, and rather than walking away, she pushed through gowns, kisses, and stunts in tight evening dresses. There were even brief reports of tension between Hatcher and Pierce Brosnan after she arrived late one day.
Now I know. Was it something I said?
How about the words, "I'll be right back"?
Once Brosnan learned she was pregnant, he reportedly apologized immediately. The chemistry on screen, the goodbye scenes, the lingering sadness, all of it was filtered through a quiet behind-the-scenes story almost no one knew. And here's the kicker. She only took the role because her husband, a lifelong Bond fan, dreamed of being married to a Bond girl. Number 6. Jackie Chan's crew came in to save the fight. Michelle Yeoh wasn't just a Bond girl, she was a real-deal Hong Kong action legend. And during the bicycle shop fight sequence, the stunt team realized they had a problem. Yeoh's full-contact martial arts style, perfected over years of brutal Hong Kong filmmaking, was so intense that the regular Bond stuntmen literally refused to fight her. So the producers made a phone call to Jackie Chan's stunt team. Chan's people, who knew exactly what they were getting into, flew in to handle the choreography. The result is one of the cleanest, fiercest hand-to-hand sequences in any Bond film. and it remains one of the only times in 007 history when an entire stunt department had to be replaced because the female lead was simply too dangerous. Number 7. The motorcycle argument was completely real. That iconic chase scene, where Bond and Wai Lin sprint through Saigon while handcuffed together on a BMW motorcycle, started with one of the funniest director tricks in Bond history. Right before filming the scene, director Roger Spottiswoode pulled Pierce Brosnan aside privately and told him, "You're driving the bike." Then he walked over to Michelle Yeoh, alone, and told her the exact same thing. The result? When the cameras rolled, both actors honestly believed they were supposed to be in the driver's seat. The argument you see between them is 100% real.
Don't get any ideas.
I'd never dream of it.
The shoves, the eye rolls, the comedic timing, all genuine. Spottiswoode wanted authentic chemistry, and he got it the only way you really can, by lying to both stars at the same time. Number 8. Brosnan filmed half the movie from one side. There's a reason a lot of close-up shots in Tomorrow Never Dies favor the same side of Pierce Brosnan's face. During an intense fight sequence, a stuntman's helmet collided with him at full force, slicing open one side of his face. The injury required 8 stitches running down his cheek. With production already running behind schedule and no time to halt the shoot, the crew had to adapt instantly. Many scenes from that point forward were filmed strictly from his uninjured side, with careful angles, lighting tricks, and even reblocked choreography. If you ever rewatch the film knowing this, you start to spot it everywhere. Bond may be invincible on screen, but underneath those crisp tuxedos and signature smirks, Brosnan was quietly healing through the rest of production. Number 9. The remote-controlled BMW wasn't actually remote. That parking garage scene where Bond drives the BMW 750IL from the backseat using his cell phone? Pure cinematic magic, emphasis on the word magic. There was no real remote control. Special effects supervisor Chris Corbould rebuilt 4 BMW 750ILs so that a hidden stunt driver named Steve Griffin could lie crouched on the back floorboard, steering the car using video monitors. From outside, it genuinely looks like the vehicle is driving itself, dodging bullets, missiles, and concrete columns. To pull off the full sequence, the production used 17 identical BMWs in Aspen Silver, and the chase took 3 weeks to film. So that futuristic 1997 tech moment audiences gasped at? It was actually one man, on his stomach, peeking at a tiny screen. Number 10. The mall that became Hamburg. The famous parking garage chase looks like the heart of downtown Hamburg, Germany, but most of it was actually filmed inside a London shopping mall. After a reshoot was needed and flying back to Germany became too expensive, producers turned to the Brent Cross shopping center on the outskirts of London. To keep shoppers from panicking, signs were posted around the stores warning them that the loud explosions were nothing to worry about. Imagine pushing your shopping cart through Marks & Spencer while a BMW gets blown sky-high 1 floor below. Filming took 10 days. The final dramatic leap of the car off the rooftop, however, was shot for real on location in Hamburg. Half of one of the coolest action scenes in 90s cinema took place between a food court and a clothing rack. If this is taking you back to those late-night 90s movie marathons, do us a small favor. Hit that like button, drop your favorite Bond moment in the comments, and subscribe to Rewatch Club so you never miss a fact fest like this. We already covered every weird secret behind GoldenEye, Brosnan's first Bond outing, so if you haven't seen that one yet, you're missing half the story. And the strangest fact in this entire video? It's still coming. Stick around. Number 11. Bond switched guns for the first time in 35 years. For more than 3 decades, James Bond was inseparable from his Walther PPK. That tiny, sleek pistol had been his sidearm in nearly every Eon Bond film since Dr. No back in 1962. But in Tomorrow Never Dies, something quietly historic happened. 007 traded up to the Walther P99. A heftier, modern handgun that signaled a new era for the franchise. Walther itself had been one of Bond's longest-running brand partners, and the company specifically pushed for the new model to debut on screen. The P99 then stuck around for the rest of Brosnan's run, and even into Daniel Craig's Casino Royale. Most fans never noticed the swap in the heat of the action, but for gun enthusiasts, this was the silent end of a Bond era. Number 12. Vietnam said no to Bond. Nearly half of Tomorrow Never Dies is set in Vietnam, including that legendary Saigon motorcycle chase. But here's the secret. None of it was actually filmed in Vietnam. The producers had received early permission to shoot in the country, but Prime Minister Vor Van Kiet personally rescinded the visa just 2 months in. Why? Some officials cited concerns about pyrotechnics, but insiders believed the real reason was political. After viewing GoldenEye's opening credits, which featured women smashing communist hammer and sickle symbols, Vietnam's government reportedly grew uncomfortable with the franchise. The crew scrambled, and Bangkok ended up doubling for Saigon. Look closely at the chase scenes and you can spot Thai signage, Chinese characters, and even a Thai flag in the background. A whole country was rewritten on the fly. Number 13. The theme song lost to Titanic twice. Sheryl Crow's Haunting. Tomorrow Never Dies theme was nominated for both a Golden Globe and a Grammy in 1998. Two prestigious chances to bring home a trophy. Two devastating losses. And both times the same song stole the night. Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On from Titanic. It was one of those nostalgic 90s award show moments where you could almost feel the entire industry shift toward the iceberg. Crow's song wasn't just beaten, it was practically swept away by the cultural tidal wave Titanic created. Even today, fans debate whether her track or K.D. Lang's Surrender deserved more recognition. But somewhere in that endless 1998 award circuit, two ships collided once again, and Sheryl Crow's Bond ballad ended up on the wrong end of history. Number 14. The civilians on camera had no idea. In one of the film's earliest scenes, Bond's car comes crashing through a car dealership in spectacular fashion. The reactions of the bystanders nearby, wide eyes, real shock, hands flying up, were not actors. They were ordinary members of the public who had no idea filming was even happening. The production didn't notify anyone walking by, hoping to capture genuine surprise on camera. And it worked too well. People genuinely believed something terrible had occurred. It's a tiny detail most viewers would never catch, but it makes that scene feel oddly authentic in a way modern blockbusters can't replicate. Today, it would never be allowed for safety and liability reasons, but in the chaotic late 90s, you could apparently. Number 15. Monica Bellucci almost played Paris. Before Terry Hatcher signed on as Paris Carver, the role was originally intended for a then-rising Italian actress named Monica Bellucci. Yes, that Monica Bellucci, the same one who would eventually appear in Spectre nearly 2 decades later, becoming the oldest official Bond girl in franchise history. If casting had gone differently in 1997, she would have been the youngest. Bellucci was reportedly considered seriously, but the role ultimately went to Hatcher, who brought her own elegance and tragic energy to the part. It's a strange casting full-circle moment that fans only realized years later. Imagine an alternate timeline where Bellucci appeared in 2 Bond films, separated by 18 years, playing 2 completely different women. Bond casting decisions ripple through decades, and this one continues to fascinate fans rewatching the Brosnan era. Number 16. A magician hit Pierce Brosnan in the face with a card. Ricky Jay, the actor playing villainous techno-terrorist Henry Gupta, wasn't just an actor.
The missile ready to fire?
Press the magic button, Beijing disappear.
He was one of the most respected sleight-of-hand magicians in the world, holding a Guinness record for throwing playing cards at high speed. Naturally, the producers wanted to write a scene where he'd throw cards at Bond. Jay warned them it was a terrible idea, safety-wise. They insisted on a test. Standing roughly 75 feet away, Jay launched a single card and hit Pierce Brosnan squarely above the eyes. Brosnan was fine, but understandably stunned. The producers, after all that, never asked him to repeat it on camera. So, somewhere in Bond history, a real-life magician outdid his own legend with one shot, and the moment never made the final cut. Imagine being that talented and getting cut from a Bond film. Number 17. It was the first Bond movie without a Fleming reference. For 35 years, every James Bond film had referenced Ian Fleming somewhere. A character, a story element, a single quote, or even a chapter title borrowed from one of his original novels. Tomorrow Never Dies broke that streak completely. Outside of the core characters Bond, Q, M, and Moneypenny, there's not a single nod to Fleming's writings anywhere in the film. No location, no plot beat, no sly reference. The villain was original. The story was original. Even the title had no connection to Fleming's universe. For purists, it was a quiet but historic shift, the moment Bond officially moved past his literary roots and into pure cinematic invention. It's one of those facts you only fully appreciate when you've seen every previous film in the franchise. Number 18. They were writing the movie one day ahead. Most films take years to develop. Tomorrow Never Dies took approximately 6 months from the first day of shooting to its theatrical release, and the script wasn't even finished when filming began. Pages were being rewritten overnight by Bruce Fairstein, often in a hotel room in Bangkok, then faxed to set the next morning. Director Roger Spottiswoode and Fairstein were reportedly at odds for much of the shoot. Pierce Brosnan even joked publicly that we had a script that was not functioning in certain areas. Crew members talked about leaving. The chaos was so intense that Brosnan later described the experience as like pulling teeth.
Bond. James Bond.
And yet, somehow, against all odds, the final film became one of the highest-grossing Bond movies of the decade. Madness, captured on celluloid. Number 19. A cameo born from a missed audition. When Dutch actress Daphne Dekkers heard about a Bond audition for the role of Paris Carver, she was thrilled. Unfortunately, she contacted the production too late. The role had already been filled. Most actresses would have walked away disappointed. But Dekkers had something special going for her. Her husband was Wimbledon champion Richard Krajicek, and her name carried real European visibility. The producers liked her so much that instead of saying no entirely, they wrote her a small cameo as Carver's public relations woman. It's a tiny role you might miss in the early scenes of the film, but it exists purely because someone was charming enough to inspire the crew to invent a part for her. Sometimes in Hollywood, the door doesn't open, but they cut you a window. Number 20. The Last Goodbye to Cubby Broccoli. Tomorrow Never Dies carries a weight you can almost feel in its opening credits, even if you don't know why. It was the first Bond film made after the death of legendary producer Albert Cubby Broccoli, the man who built the entire 007 franchise alongside Harry Saltzman. Cubby passed away in June 1996, and the film is quietly dedicated to his memory. From this entry forward, every Bond film began with the same tribute line. Albert R. Broccoli's Eon Productions Limited presents. His daughter Barbara and stepson Michael G. Wilson stepped into his shoes and have produced every single Bond film since. So, when you hear that iconic gun barrel theme play at the start of Tomorrow Never Dies, listen closely. It's the sound of a torch being passed. Number 21. Bonus fact, the title was a complete accident. And here it is, the strangest fact in the entire film. The title Tomorrow Never Dies wasn't actually the producer's first choice. It was originally Tomorrow Never Lies, a clever nod to Carver's villainous newspaper, Tomorrow. The phrase made perfect thematic sense. A media mogul whose printed lies always come true. So how did lies become dies? A typo. When the title was faxed over to MGM for approval, the recipient misread the handwriting and wrote down Tomorrow Never Dies.
Tell me, Mr. Bond, how is the market reacting to the crisis?
Currencies are off. Your stock is soaring.
MGM saw it, fell in love with it instantly, and demanded the producers keep it. The original title was quietly buried. The typo became canon, and one of the most iconic Bond titles in history was born from a single misread letter. Sometimes legendary moments aren't planned. They're just lucky accidents. And that's the bizarre, beautiful chaos behind Tomorrow Never Dies, a film stitched together from typos, walkouts, late-night rewrites, and one of the smoothest Bonds ever to hold a martini. Now we want to hear from you. Which did you love more, GoldenEye or Tomorrow Never Dies? Should we break down The World Is Not Enough next? Drop it in the comments. Hit like and subscribe, because Bond may be a member of MI6, but you belong to Rewatch Club. Which moment from this film still gives you chills? Tell us below. Until next time, stay shaken, never stirred.